Match is a pre-plot option which is to match the frequencies of major peaks in PSD to a list of frequencies in a characteristic frequency table defined by user, and mark the matched peaks on the plot. The difference between marker and matching is that marker will mark on PSD regardless there is a peak at the frequency or not, while matching will only mark on a PSD peak with signal-to-noise ratio above certain threshold level. This is a useful feature for rotating machinery vibration analysis since the spectral content typically include many different rotational frequency from various rotor components such as bearing and gearbox. And the frequency matching would allow easy identification of all major spectral peaks observed in a PSD. Right mouse click on match to show its menu. First turn on the matching. Then specify the matching is to be applied to all plots, or just the current subplot. The rest of this menu is composed of three major parts. The first part is the fundamental frequency table which defines all major characteristic frequencies of the system, such as sync frequencies, bearing, or gear mesh frequencies. The characteristic frequency can be defined as absolute frequency, or ratio of a reference frequency. There are two options for specifying reference frequency. The first option is auto import from reference window. During analysis, it will automatically import the reference frequency from reference window, such as RPM N1 or N2. Since the analysis time is a variable, this type of reference frequency will also be variable. The second option is fixed reference frequency. Each row in fundamental frequency table represents a characteristic frequency. Click Add or Delete buttons to add new row or delete existing row. Click on the cell under the status column to activate or deactivate a row. Enter a symbol for each characteristic frequency as it matched ID. Enter an optional description of the characteristic frequency. For absolute frequency, simply enter the frequency in Hertz. For ratio of reference frequency, enter the multiplier such as 6 for sixth harmonic of N2. Click on the cell under RF name, a pull-down list will show the list of all reference window frequency, select the desired RF. Marker color is to mark the PSD with color at the characteristic frequency, plus so many bin to be specified in the third part of the menu below. The characteristic frequencies defined in this example include N2 for RPM of pump 2. C for cage frequency of the roller bearing of pump 2. Rs for roller spin frequency and so on. The second part of match menu is modulation and sideband frequency table. Modulation and sideband frequency is defined as plus minus I times A, plus minus J times B, plus minus K times C, where A, B, C are the characteristic frequencies in fundamental frequency table. Click on the cell under I or J or K column. To specify the maximum number of I or J or K, click on the cell under A or B or C column. A pull-down list will show the list of all characteristic frequencies as defined in fundamental frequency table for selection. In this example, 4 modulation/sideband pattern are created, which includes inner roller pass, I ± sync frequency N2, outer roller pass, O ± sync frequency N2, roller spin frequency, R ± cage frequency C, and so on. The third part of match menu is for setting various parameters for matching. The first one is frequency matching error allowed. During matching, each PSD peak will be matched again all the characteristic frequency including their harmonics, modulation, and sideband. The difference between the PSD peak frequency and the target frequency to be matched is called matching error. If matching error is less than the allowable tolerance, then a match is found for the PSD peak. The next one is maximum number of harmonics to be matched. Each PSD peak is only be matched up to the maximum number of harmonics of all the characteristic frequencies. Next, peak selection threshold. The signal-to-noise ratio of each PSD peak is computed and used to determine if it is qualified as a peak for matching. The next one is frequency matching ID label size and bold font. Peak selection window. If a PSD peak have several local maxima, or ripples, around the largest peak, then only one peak, the largest, within the peak selection window is selected for matching. Pattern marker width is for the PSD to change to marker color at target match frequencies plus pattern marker width. If the checkbox for include aliasing is checked, target match frequencies also include the aliased frequency of characteristic frequencies. Now close the menu. And let's generate PSD of the current single channel. Turn on match. And start. Many PSD peaks match the characteristic frequencies such as N2, 2N2, 4N2, 8N2, 12N1. In addition, several PSD peaks at modulation and sideband frequency are also matched, such as R plus 2C, I and N2, 2R plus 2C, and 4R minus 3C. Although match is a pre-plot option, it can also be turned on or off after the plot is generated.